I just want to start out by thanking you all for being part of the Beyond Normal podcast first live session with an audience. It's been an incredible 7 seasons for us. And so everybody is telling us that they're back outside and they want in-person engagement. So that's what we're going to give them. And we're starting out with a bang with an incredible first guest in Donovan Everett here. So I think we're going to be hitting the play record button rather soon, but I just wanted to start out by saying that for you all. Appreciate you all for coming out with us because this is definitely the first of many more with incredible individuals like Donovan.
No. Thanks, Kenny, for having me here for the first in-person podcast.
No, we're going to get to it. We're just breaking the ice. We're breaking ice.
We're breaking ice.
So, Darren, we're good? All right, bet. So, thank you all for being here with the Beyond Normal podcast. As I just told you all, this is a very special inaugural episode. But before we get to that, we have some housekeeping things, some very special individuals that we want to say a couple things. So we have Toya. Yes, first, Toya Everett first. So, Toya, do you need me to pass you the mic or?
Okay. No, just to echo what Kenny said, thank you all so much for coming out. I am one of the co-presenters with Kenny of this special event today. So when Kenny, reached out about having Donovan on the podcast, me in my vetting mode, I said, where do you typically do your podcast? Is it going to be virtual or do you do a podcast studio? And he said, well, sometimes I do a podcast studio and I do it at Do Greater. I said, well, let's meet at Do Greater. And so when I came out, learned a little bit more about Do Greater, saw the space, I said, we should do this in person. One of the things that, growing up in a family of small business owners, we understood the importance of and the impact of ensuring that small and minority businesses are able to grow and scale, the impact that they have on communities. But we also learned, and I've been in Charlotte for about 20 years, and one of the things that I saw was that there were a lot of minority businesses owners who reached a certain growth and scale, but they didn't share their stories on platforms such as these. And so I told Donovan we need to be very strategic about, partnering with the right partners and ensuring that other minority and small businesses have access to information and exposure, because that's what it really comes down to, access and exposure. So again, what better place to host this event than Do Greater, who's our event sponsor for the evening, a place that drives innovation and creativity through entrepreneurship. So thank you so much, Do Greater, and I'll turn it over to Karina, and then she'll flip it back over to Kenny.
Toya. Welcome to the Creative Lab. I am Karina Anderson with Do Greater Charlotte. I'm the Events and Operations Coordinator here for Do Greater Charlotte, so I'm in charge of all of the events, co-working membership, and everything that happens with the adults in our space, but we are a nonprofit organization. So our mission is to serve the youth, middle school, high school students, and teach them about entrepreneurship. So really excited to have you guys here today. Small business owner, I won't say small, business owner. And so you guys are inspirations to us as well as our
Appreciate that from Toya and Karina. My very first time stepping into this Do Greater space, I was really in awe at just them having a space like this for the next generation. I think they're Gen Zers, is that what they're called, right? But the next generation to really come up with their own business ideas, be creative. They got I was here last week. They had some students that were coming in. They were interested in podcasting, photography, DJing. Like these are the areas where they want to spend their time. And so I think it's really important for a place like Do Greater to exist, for them to have productive, positive avenues to kind of spill that creativity into. In addition to that, I know Karina didn't mention it, but they do have some incredible growth coming up soon. And so as you all being here with us today, we'll definitely be following up with you because there's some opportunities to really invest a little bit more time, energy, money into the spaces and the opportunities that they have moving forward. Appreciate you all. So without further ado, I think we are going to hop into the conversation with Mr. Donovan Everett.
Well, no, Kenny, thank you for having me here on the very first in-person podcast, and thank you, Do Greater, for allowing us to be here again. It's amazing to always get to tell my story, because when I was trying to start my business, I was looking for information, and I was seeking how others did it. And what helped me, I said, if I have an opportunity to be able to do that for others coming along, I wanted to do that. So anytime I have an opportunity to tell my story and share things that helped me along the way, I'm more than willing to do it because I know it helped me. And I had to pay a lot of money sometimes for that. So if I can have that, help y'all do that without paying all the money that I did in some of those cases, I'd be more than happy to do it. So no, it's always exciting to be here. So no, thank you for doing that. So
appreciate you throwing that in there. And so you mentioned a little bit about your experience and some of the things that you've had to dive into over your career. Before we kind of dive into the meat and potatoes of the conversation, though, I do have a brief kind of intro. Yeah. A couple things just to set the stage for the things that Donovan has really done with his career. I had to definitely do my research and take some notes. I wanted to make sure for this conversation in particular, because you've done a lot, Donovan. But Donovan is a seasoned construction executive with $2 billion in projects completed. And so that is no small feat. He will definitely tell us a little bit about some of those projects throughout the conversation, but I just wanted to shout that out because that is a really big number, and that's something that we should all be highlighting each and every day. In addition to that, from a construction background perspective, Donovan has really, I don't want to say you spent your whole life in this space.
I spent my whole life
but you have spent your whole life in this space. Since the age of 15, you got your degree at NC State, which I think is really, really cool as well. I am a UNC Charlotte alumni myself. Just wanted to throw that out there. So the NC education system is definitely represented well on this stage today. And in addition to that, you've worked for some really big global firms, right, to really sharpen your sword. And so that's something that I want to tell folks to really set the stage. And in addition to that, most recently, you were actually acknowledged by the Charlotte Business Journal. Number 4, I believe, Charlotte-owned business in terms of the largest. And then in addition to that, which is a much more important stat or figure to me, is you're on the list for Charlotte Business Journal CEOs to admire. And so not a lot of CEOs are admired right now. I'll say that. So it's really, let's give Donovan a round of applause for that, because that's something we don't talk about a lot today, the CEOs that are doing it right. And then lastly, I just wanted to touch on real briefly your focus on community and nonprofit work, some of the advisory work you do. You're actually on the board. We'll get to it later, I believe, HBCU impact as well. And so I just want to set the stage with that, and really I'm excited to have this conversation with you. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you.
Is there anything I missed? I'm joking. We'll get to it.
We'll talk about it, I'm sure.
So before we dive into, I gave, just a general kind of overview of Donovan's a journey in this space, the movie that Donovan is really painting and filming right now in terms of your career. Tell us from your perspective, right? Like, what if you are writing a book or you're writing your own movie right now? Like, what is the story that you want to tell? The pieces that I didn't necessarily paint the detail on.
Yeah, no, and I'll take a step back of where my journey started. I grew up in a small town, Beaufort, North Carolina, and I'm nobody special. I'm a person that had big dreams and big goals, and I've never said I'm never going to quit on them. So ever since I was a small kid working with my dad in the construction industry, I always wanted to own my own company at some point in time. But as I've grown and gotten, growing this business, it's also leaving a legacy. You see, if you drive around the city and you see names on buildings and family names on buildings and what the families are doing in the community, that has outlived some of the people that the names on the buildings. So it's the community, it's the legacy that leaves the community in a better place than you were before you got there. So by growing this business, giving folks opportunities, creating that legacy to outlast me. You know, if I can do that, man, that's just, you know, that's just the icing on the cake to be able to do something like that. So
I think that's actually a cheat code, naming the business after yourself. Right? Like a lot of business owners we see now, they come up with like the catchy, you know, the I fly, where they add the I at the beginning of the word, the buzzword, right? But naming a business after yourself, like there's intrinsic value for you. You want that business to be successful because it's your namesake. Yeah. That's an easy way to not psych yourself into making the business successful, but you believe in it from day one.
Yeah, it's funny when you said that. When I started a business, or when I had the idea to start the business, I went back and forth, like, should I name it after myself? Should I name it something else? And, you know, just through talking with folks, you're like, no, they know you. So they know your brand. They know you, the name. So you need to name it after yourself. So, you know, but it does forces you to, when your name's on the door, if you will, you got to live up to what that name is. You can't go out there and have this life of, you know, bad business when your name's on the door, you know, doing unethical stuff and not living up to what the business and the brand is. So when you have a business that is named after that, you got to live up to it. So it's a way to make you continue to keep the picture in front of you, but also too knowing that you want to keep the name, keep the name proud and keep going forward. So yeah.
Thanks for that. And, you know, next up, you know, perfect segue, I think, in terms of you seeing your name there, right? And a lot of leaders, a lot of founders, they want to build something that gets to the scale that you've built, right? 100 million plus, right? $2 billion in completed projects. But they don't necessarily know, like, what all goes into that. So can you talk a little bit about just your strategy around, like, what do you put in place from a strategic perspective for your business?
Yeah. So I want to kind of go back a little bit about the name. You know, even though my name may be on the door, it doesn't operate without people. So you got to have good people in your organization that will make this thing go. And to scale a business, you need people. It doesn't cost money to have people. It costs you money not to have people. And as I was growing a business, it was hard for me to learn that. Because you're making some money. You're like, I got to keep the money so I can continue to grow it. But you're like, I don't want to hire a person yet because I don't want to spend the money. But what I learned with getting in the rooms with the right people who've grown businesses to us of scale, they teach you very quickly. It's going to cost you more money not to have the right person in the seat. And so when that mindset for me, when you have the right people and the right systems and the right processes in place, it just starts to multiply. Because what is scale? It's through people. It's through processes and through systems. So as we've been growing our business, getting the right people, getting the right leadership team in place, and continue to, just so you can replicate yourself and others in the business, so you can continue to do that. But you know, you got to keep the brand too, as you grow and scale. So, and I think the way to do that, I have to be able to set the tone for the brand. Of what I'm doing, and hopefully that the team sees that, so to continue to model, mimic that brand that we have, and that allows you just to grow and scale because clients are going to continue to hire you, and they see you are able to do what you say you're going to do. So that's scaling 101 in like the quick snapshot. But yeah,
I appreciate that. Definitely a gem. I'm taking notes. I know some of the folks all of the folks in the audience are definitely taking notes on that. That's something we can relate put into our business from day one. Yeah. So I appreciate you sharing that. Next up, I want to dive a little bit into the specific projects that you've worked on, right? Mm-hmm. And so some of the projects that you worked on or you're currently working on would be the Spectrum Center, for example, or in the past, you've even had the opportunity to do some work at HBCUs, such as North Carolina Central, right? And so can we talk a little bit about what all goes into getting to those projects? Like, I can't start from day one saying I'm going to work with the Hornets. So like, how do you get to that level?
You know, when you start a business, you got to be able to see where you're going. You want to know where you're going from day one. So when the business was literally nothing, I had this vision of where I wanted to be in 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now. And so all these projects didn't just happen overnight. It started years ago. And it started by what we did 15 years ago is paying off today. That's exactly what it's because it's a brand that's been recognized over 15 years that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. They're going to execute, and they're going to show up and do what they say they're going to do each and every time. So let's just take the Spectrum Center for an example. That was a strategic win for us. It wasn't one that we just happened to walk into. We've been working in Charlotte for many, many years, and we worked with the city of Charlotte, did the Bojangles Coliseum, and we had heard about the Hornets the Spectrum Center was going to be renovated. So 5 years before the job dropped, we really started putting that deal together, if you will. We found our specific joint venture partner that we knew can execute. So Turner, who's probably the largest sports builder in this area. They have done work with the Atlanta Hawks and doing other things like that. So we aligned ourselves with a sports builder, Turner, and we just started working that. And when the job dropped, we had already had 5 years, if you will, of early game. And so all these things are very strategic in what we do. I'll give you another example. So right now we're working with one of the largest automotive dealers in the black-owned automotive dealers in the market, but just happened to be part of the owner of the Hornets. But that was probably 8 years of working that relationship. 8 years of working that relationship with him to try to get in front of him, and it wasn't until the Hornets that he picked up the phone call. We had built dealerships from here to the Virgin Islands, but it wasn't until that time that we won the Hornets that he picked up the phone and answered and said, "Hey, let's talk." And as I sit back and think about that, I said, "Wonder what that was." But what I realize now, that I'm glad it wasn't until the opportunity, because we probably were not ready to do his work. We were still fine tuning our business. We were still building our platforms and systems out. And now we're on project number 3 or number 2 with him, about to build an ultra luxury brand for him out in north of here. And so you got to kind of look at it and be strategic and do a self-analysis on your own business, because a lot of times when you lose, it's for good reason. And when you sit back and look at it, sometimes it's the best thing to lose, so you can sit back and retool and think about what you needed to do as a business so you can get correct for when your time comes. I got asked the question. You asked me where is it? He left out. But he asked me a question like, what do you do when stuff is coming at you and you're not ready for it? I said, just the best thing you can do is always be ready. Just always be ready, because you never know when the opportunity is going to knock. That's how our opportunity with the Virgin Islands came about. We've done work in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and that opportunity just came out of nowhere. And I didn't know how I was going to do it, but we said we're going to do it and did it. That whole saying, "Commit first and figure the rest out later." That is literally business. Commit first and figure the rest out later, because a lot of times the opportunities aren't going to keep coming. They're going to come one time, and if you can't show up for it and be strategic and creative enough to figure it out, they probably won't show back up. So that mentality of commit first and figure the rest out later, that's how I run. And I know Wendy's back there. She's probably like, I hate when you run like that. So
that's not an easy skill, I would say, to, like you said, say yes to something before you even have it built.
Yeah.
So I want to go back a little bit. Are there any moments from your early career that helped you get to that point?
Yeah, I think over time you just build. Success is what is success? It's the memory of winning. The memory of winning. So it gets easier to make these decisions as you're going along in your business, because one thing for me, I'll tell you, I'm not afraid to fail at all. And the faster you can fail, the quicker you learn the lesson and what you need to do to get to where you're going. So, you just build that. It's like going to the gym. You show up every day to build that muscle, and you make the decision, because whatever the decision is, if it's the wrong decision, you're going to figure out very quickly if it's the wrong decision. If it's the right decision, well, you're going to be on your way a lot quicker. So, and also too, I'll go back to surrounding yourself with people who have done what you're looking to do. Hands down. To really go back there, I stopped listening to people who hadn't achieved what I was looking to achieve, because they couldn't tell me how to get through this hurdle that I was going to face because they had never done that. That's not a knock on them, but they weren't equipped to tell me how to get through a hurdle in this part of my business. So I surrounded myself with people who were where I was trying to go, who have achieved what I was trying to achieve, and I surrounded. So it allowed me to make my decisions easier because I can see where the roadblocks that I was possibly going to hit.
Over here taking notes instead of thinking about the next question, but this is really relevant in the time we're in now, where it seems like the Gen Zs that I mentioned earlier, they do want to fail fast.
Yeah.
They have a little bit more appetite for it seems.
Well, is it appetite or they just heard on Instagram?
I don't know.
I hear you. It's the buzzword to fail for. Yeah, I mean, I hope that's what they want because that's really the hack, if you will. The quicker you can fail, the faster you'll get to where you're going. And that's what happened for the business. You know, we've tried all kinds of things. I mean, just any and everything. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. You know, posting. I mean, my first video was trash, but I was like, the information I got from somebody who had achieved what I was trying to do said, you need to get out there and promote and post your business and talk about it. And it was just a muscle that just kept doing it. I probably failed some along the way and trash videos, but some of y'all are here from the video, right? So I don't know. Maybe it works. I don't know. So
there's
and Terrence made my video look good. So
I imagine that. So there, as you were talking, I was thinking about, like you said, these potentially 5-year sales cycles,
yes.
Like really embracing the wins, right? And kind of forgetting not forgetting, but, you know, failing fast and then moving forward. And that, to me, one of the words that came top of mind was endurance, like having some sort of endurance. So like, how do you build endurance into yourself personally versus the business as well?
Now, I think I'm big on health and wellness. And I think you individually, you got to be equipped to deal with what comes at you. And to do that, you got to be able to master this unit right here first. Your 24 inches or whatever you are. And if you can't get this right, you can forget everything else. You know, I'm big on health and wellness, and that allows me to absorb the stuff that you get day in and day out. Because you, as a business owner or leaders or whatever, you're going to go through some stuff. This is not an easy cakewalk to have a business or leading stuff. It is not. So the best way I can do is if I can control this, then I can control whatever else comes at me, and I'm equipped to do it. So going to the gym, eating healthy as I can, that translates into the business. So when I go to do my work, I know I can achieve that because I did that part. I control what I could control with my body, my mind. So if I can control that, you can control everything else that comes at you. And as far as, you know, losses or, you know, the sales cycle, I mean, there are projects we lose and things like that. But there's always a lesson into it. There's always a lesson into a loss that we take. So we don't sit there and, oh, well, we lost and this and that, and we wallow in it and whatever. Man, we take the whooping and go home, and we get on the board and figure out why we lost. We're going to get back out there the next day and figure out, okay, this is what we need to correct. And for us, you know, every day is Monday. What do we say? Every day is Monday. Why? Because what happens on Monday when you come in? You're all re-energized. You got a new week, and I'm going to kill this, I'm going to kill that. Well, Friday comes, it's Monday for us. Because what's happening on Friday for most people? They're ready for the weekend. They're ready to go hang out. But we ready to kill it like it was Monday because we know we got big goals to achieve. So Friday is Monday for us.
As you were talking, and we mentioned social media earlier, the idea of like work-life balance is a hot topic right now. And so for a lot of people, work-life balance means working less and spending more time on life stuff, right? So I'm curious, like for you, like you mentioned some of the things that you build into your routine, like what does work-life balance look like you in particular?
I'll say this. if you want to build anything big, be prepared to be prepared to be out of balance. Hands down. You can't build something big and say you're gonna be balanced here and here and here, because at some point in time you're gonna be working so hard on this that you got to focus on this. But then there may be time you're gonna have to focus on this, and this is out of balance. So when I was getting into my fitness journey, my sleep was out of balance because you got to get up early in the morning and go. Or if I'm working a lot of hours, family's out of balance. But it's all for a bigger purpose. So if you know where you're going and to what you're trying to do it for, then the result of the win that you're trying to get will balance everything out. But I don't think there's ever going to be a, quote, balance. And if anybody believes that, they've been fed some bad stuff. I'll leave it at that. Because it's just not possible, man. I mean, and not be successful. I don't believe that. It's just to be wildly successful. You gotta go out each and every day and put in extraordinary amounts of effort in whatever you're doing. I don't know how if somebody can achieve balance and write a book, sell it, because I don't know how you can do it.
Got it. As you were speaking, like I was believing what you were saying. Like you gotta really like the waking up early, like do some of those things, and that throws other things off balance. Like it could throw your family life off balance at times, right? But there's gotta be a give and take when you're going for.
And in life, whatever you're trying to achieve, in order to get something, you have to give up something. You always have to give up something in order to achieve what you're looking for. Always. If you want to get in shape, you got to give up the donuts. If you want to build a business, you're going to have to give up, sacrifice something, money, time, whatever. When I was building this business, there's a lot of things I would have been rather doing, but I knew that there was a bigger thing. But you always got to be willing to give up something to get to something greater. I was working for a corporate company before I started a business, making good money. But I had to give all that up. I moved to Charlotte, a year or so ago. It was in Raleigh for 24 years. You have to give up something. Sometimes what you pray for, you got to give that up. I prayed to have that house in Raleigh. I had to give it up to come to Charlotte for something bigger and better that I believed that was the right thing to do to achieve the goals and dreams that I was setting to do. But most people aren't willing to give up stuff because the comfort kills them. It might be that giving up could be people, could be things, could be material things, could be whatever you have to give up. But most people aren't willing to give that up. And that's what kills them and stops them, because they aren't willing to give up what is comfortable to them in order to get to where they're going. So if you can get to yourself that I'm willing to give up something in order to achieve something more, over time with that discipline, you'll start to see the pieces come together.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate that. And as you were speaking just now, you talked about how you started to you're sharing more about your brand publicly now. Yeah. Like you're recording content. Like you said, you fail at first, and then you figure out what you want your story to be told to the world is. Like, so what is the relationship between how you're showing up publicly, having speaking engagements like this, and then how you're leading your team?
Well, I hope they say I'm the same person here that I'm at the office or at home or wherever. So here's what is a brand? A brand is it speaks to who you or the business is, whether you're there or not. So when I'm not there or the business is not there, it should be the same whether I'm there or not. The experience should be there. Who I am, that's who I am at work. This is who I am. I'll give you an example. We just come back from New York, and I went to walking down the street, went to Hermes. From the moment that I showed up at that store, the brand hit me, and it wasn't what I was buying there. It was the experience. It was the experience, and as I was starting to go through there, they walk you through the door. They greet you, hey, how are you doing? How can I help you? And first thing they do is, can I get you some water? And they bring out sparkling water and this nice Hermes branded coaster. The coaster had about $2,000 because it was cashmere and all this other stuff. But the experience right there, that taking that experience through it, and just so you know, I was never going to buy anything. I just was like, let me go in the store. I'd never been in Hermes before, so I go in there and give us this soda or sparkling water, and the experience. They sit you down in this nice, probably a chinchilla chair or whatever it was, and you sit there and they're like, "What can I help you?" Like, I'm just looking, and those are nice shoes over there. Well, I walk out of there and was intending to buy nothing, but the experience hooked me. Their brand hooked me, and I was looking around at all the people, and every sales professional was treating the customer the exact same way. That's brand. And I'm sure if I go to LA, it's probably gonna be the same way. That's probably why they charge $500,000 for those bags. I don't know. They got me to buy these shoes. But I was not intended. But my point of that is to say the brand is who you are at all times, whether you're there or not. You show up, whether you're there at the door, whether you're not, the brand is the same thing. And if you can't give mixed signals with your brand. Because the moment you give mixed signals with your brand, it's just people don't believe it. And so for me, health and wellness, I'm hoping I'm showing up, look, and communicate that I'm trying to be healthy. Driven. That's the message I'm communicating. I'm driven. I'm pushing hard. Sometimes delusional, but that's because I have big goals and big dreams, and very just that. I think brand has got to be consistent whether you're there or not, and just it's got to be able to speak that at all times.
That's interesting because when think about some of the CEOs that we all know, we know very little about their personal life, right? And so that's the part where, for me, I'm trying to figure out if those two have to align.
But who are the CEOs you're talking about? But that's a serious question, like corporate.
Yeah, corporate. Yeah,
right,
definitely
corporate. Right.
Yeah. Got it.
I'm gonna tell you why. It's not their agenda. It's corporate. So they have to be a way that corporate tells them to be. I'm not corporate. I'm Donovan. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be how I want to be. So I want people. So because I was looking for somebody to tell me show me how to do this. I wanted to know those corporate CEOs can't tell me what it's like to go sign your house over, put your house on the dotted line. Can't do that. So, and there's nothing wrong. I'm just not saying anything about, but they're in a different capacity. So I've had to, this business, I had to create things. I didn't have a marketing department. We didn't have a accounting department. We didn't have in-house legal attorneys. We had to create all that. Well, corporate, it's already there. They screw it up. They get a golden parachute to go to the house. I screw it up. We shutting it down. We're going to lose a house. He ain't going to be able to go to school and all this other stuff because I screwed it up. So there's a big push to make this thing right. I'm going to push hard in this business, promote it because it's got to win. There's no plan B. I don't have a golden parachute to go to the house. So I'm going to show everything why we're going to make this successful. I'm going to promote it. I'm going to show why we're doing this. I want to attract the right people because if we can't get the right people, the business ain't going to survive. I don't have a back-end office that's going to go start calling through 10,000 resumes. We got to do this. We got to do this here.
I appreciate you breaking that down for me personally because I'm coming from corporate into this space now as a founder of a company. And so that is a switch that has to be turned on.
I mean, I came from corporate. Again, I'm not knocking corporate because corporate, the reason why I am where I am because of corporate. They pay me good money to learn how to run a business. But what I also learned coming out of corporate was it's time to swim. You don't have that corporate monster behind you protecting you. So what are you going to do? Take all the things that corporate showed you to do, surround yourself with people who actually built businesses, take their advice, learn what you learned there and put it all together, and it happens. And that's what I did. My advice comes from people who built business. And when if you look at our growth trajectory, where it started to really take off, I got more intentional about listening to people who were where I was trying to go, because they quickly showed you how to get past the hurdles. They told you some of the roadblocks that you're going to hit before you got there, but they always told you to keep your foot on the gas, but be cautious of these things right here. So I keep saying, surround yourself with people who have what you're trying to achieve. That is one of the ultimate hacks of business, life in general, to get you to the next level.
I'm sorry, folks. Like, I'm sitting here taking notes again in my mind and trying to wrap my head around what you're saying.
Yeah.
I certainly appreciate it, because you're saying these things. You're building your company in a public manner, and you're not necessarily you're not gatekeeping. You're not keeping this in a treasure chest and throwing away the key.
Yeah,
that's super powerful now.
I mean you think about most people that build, they got the curtain in front of them, and they're hiding because people looking for them coming out the stuff. But for me, I mean, there's somebody out there that is, I get messages back on when I post stuff, and messages back. People go, "Thanks for sharing this. It really helped me." Man, that feedback, that's more powerful than anything, because you're actually giving back to somebody to help them. And I know how they feel, because I felt the same way when I was able to get that information. So I'm trying. I want to be able to return the same thing that was given to me in so many ways, because if I hadn't had that, to be able to see that, we say all the time, if we didn't learn a lot of stuff we learned early on, be a lot further along. But to be able to do that and to help somebody along the way with information, like I said earlier, that paid to be in rooms where people do it. I mean, paid money to sit in rooms with people worth billions. And the information that they gave, as long as you apply it, go back, apply it, stick to it, stay disciplined, it works.
That's a great segue for me. Thank you so much for saying that. So I think about networks, and like you just said, like, you may have to pay to be in some of in these rooms. Like, how do you strategically go about leveraging your network, whether it's in construction or not, to get stuff done for D.A. Everett?
So I'll go back to pay. There's a saying: you pay money, you're gonna pay attention. Pay enough good money, you're gonna stick with it, because you don't want to waste your money. But as far as the network, a lot of successful people spend their time building their networks, and they're very selective about who they spend their time around. So for me, I build a lot of I spend my time building a lot of networks in the industry, outside the industry, of whether it's political, community relationships, because those relationships actually can help you in the big picture. And if you just focus it solely on construction or specific market relationships, you're limiting yourself. But coming to Charlotte, I realized Charlotte was a community, a place of community. So community is a big thing. So when I got here, the first thing I started doing was start building networks and relationships in the community, and those have come back tenfold. And we do a lot of community projects. Spectrum Center, that's a community project. Schools, those are community projects. So if you're not investing or building networks in the community, how do you expect the community to reward you with any of that work? So I spent a lot of time building those networks, because those are important. And it's not about, it's all those things start to come together, and everything's a transaction. But how you transact, if it's relational, is where it matters. Everything's a transaction, but if you don't make it transactional, that's where the juice comes from. So, are you getting to know people? What makes them tick? What are their families like? So you can, we got these tickets to the Hornets, and I was building a relationship with someone, and their son wanted to go to a Hornets game, and they had never sat courtside, but to be able to do that and give them the tickets so they can take their kid, and they sent me handwritten notes, called me, said they're Kid had the most absolute time, but that's a relationship building because I took the time to understand what would make them tick. And so I didn't do that just to get something in return out of it. I heard what they wanted or heard what would make them tick. And I was able to do that with my means. So by doing that, that opened up a different level of relationship versus just saying, well, what can I buy from you? What can you give me? That's not relationship building. Relationship building is spending time with people and understand what they need to help them get to the next part of their life or how you can help add value to them. And so that networking piece and building those relationships, staying present. One of the best pieces of advice I got from another business owner is you got to stay present in your business. A lot of business owners get to certain levels, certain revenue, certain things, and they, if you will, turn the keys over and get out the car. I'm going to turn the keys over, but I'm staying in that car because you got to make sure you're pushing on the business and it stays consistent, and they got to see your leadership. The community's got to see. I might not be on the project sites building the projects, but am I meeting with community leaders? Am I doing things in the community that the community needs from leaders like myself or others in my organization? So it's always a ever changing thing, but it involves you to stay involved in what you're doing.
So you talk about, I appreciate you bringing that up, just about eventually some business owners, some founders, they turn over the keys.
Yeah.
I guess in terms of the conversation around legacy, like what is your game plan with that? Do you see this being something, to your point, where, from a leadership perspective, it stays with, like, I guess, like a family-led business? Or do you feel like you can step away and then other individuals can come in and run something?
Yeah, I think as a business grows, in order for the business to grow and folks in your organization to grow, I have to continue to grow. To grow and get out of their way so they can continue to do stuff. I don't know. Where's Hunter? What does he want to do? Legacy could mean anything. Whether I'm there running it every day, the legacy, what I built, can continue by me not being there every day. Because bringing leaders and others that I can bring in the organization, continue on what the vision and mission is of the business. But legacy is what it is. I mean, you look at it, there's a lot of businesses with family names on it. The original owners and original founders aren't there running it, but their legacy still continues long after they're gone. So that's intentional. And there may or may not be family members still there, but it still continues. So for me, that's what I want to be able to do, to even when I step away, what we set up, it continues on whether I'm there or not. And if he wants to, maybe. If it's something else, don't know what he may not want to do it. Who knows?
Appreciate that that clarity there, Donovan. I am early on in my figuring out what my toddler wants to do, so with her life. So that's why I asked that question. So I appreciate you giving me that gem there. It is whatever they want to do. Yeah. Right at the end of the day.
You can't. I didn't get pushing. This is what I wanted to do, and I think when you try to push them into it, I think it may backfire in some regards. That I tried to. One thing I do with him is take him to meetings with me, take him where. All I'm trying to condition him to do is to be able to communicate, maneuver, and whatever those skills those soft skills that he's learning, whether he wants to race cars or build buildings or whatever, those soft skills that I want him to learn, he can take them any and everywhere and be successful wherever he wants to be. Because what I learned is communicating, building relationships. If he can learn those basic skills, the rest of the stuff will come to him. So, that's really what it boils down to.
Appreciate that. I think, where we at in time? Okay. I just want to make sure we got time for folks that may want to ask a question or two. If there's anybody who has a question, feel free to raise your hand and we will figure out how to get a mic to you. I want to make sure we make time for folks to ask questions.
Donovan, thank you again so much for being here. I wanted to ask specifically when it comes to access to capital, it's critically important to be able to grow businesses, especially when starting off. What type of advice would you give a early startup when trying to get access to more capital? Lines of credit might be there, personal or business credit cards might be there too, but maybe like a non-traditional route when looking to get larger amounts of capital.
Yeah, it goes. I think it's multiple. I think it goes back a couple things. It's about building relationships with people that have capital. You said non-traditional. I didn't start with a lot of capital. I did not start with a lot of capital at all, and we're going to be a $100+ million business. We basically financed our company year after year after year. But so I think just really building relationships with people, getting in those circles and understanding. But as you're doing that, build the wins, because money follows success. And if you're winning, the capital will come easy. So I'll give you an example. I went and got some capital to start my business, and it was no money. Like when I say no money, I mean it was just enough to get the thing going. And it took me, I was in his office probably like 3 hours. Fast forward several years later, I wanted to grow my business. I was like, I need some capital to do this thing. Like, I probably need about $1 million, $2 million. I went to the office, but keep in mind that was 5 years, 6 years I went by for the first time. But we've been winning. We've shown success, whatever. It took me 10 minutes to get that money. Seriously, 10 minutes. And I go, man, I should ask for more. But my point about that is you gotta build that success so people can understand that you're serious about what you're doing. Traditionally with the outside capital, no different with banks. Banks gonna want to see a success story. Banks gonna want to see, are you profitable? Are you what are you doing in your business? No different than people on the outside. And as long as they believe in you, they'll give it to you. You can have a business model that might not work, but if you believe it will work, they'll stroke you a check. But I think you got to build success along the way so you can help make that case. So that's my advice.
So much, Donovan. I've been writing down a lot of notes, and to include some questions. I do have a couple of questions, but I'll wait to the end. My first question is, how long were you a subcontractor before you became a prime contractor, or were you ever a subcontractor?
Yeah, so no, we started out as straight up general contractor, construction manager. That was I started corporate company, so we were general or construction manager. That's how we started our business. We intentionally knew that was what we wanted our business to be, a general contractor. So we had people offer, will you be a subcontractor? And we intentionally did not. We gave it because we wanted to stay. Remember I said brand? We wanted our brand to be what that was. So and again, we were my position may be a little different. So I don't want to say don't turn down an opportunity, but I knew that this is what I wanted this business to look like. And general contract is all we've ever been. That's all we've ever done. So, and it was, it's a discipline, it's opportunities come along. He's like, oh, I can do this and do that. But it's a brand. We want to stick to it. And I'm glad we did, because now people they don't even come to us about things, and but they come to us about what we want them to come to. So. Yeah, so I'll talk about good point, joint ventures. We've done some joint ventures on larger projects, where we're a minority share in a large project, but we're still at the prime level. But that allows us to really be a part of big projects, but also sometimes learn from the bigger animals, their systems and their processes and things that we want to bring back to our organization to do that. But they're all strategic. We don't do it just to do it. We do it for a strategic reason, and over time, that helps your business. But also, as you say, with your business, if you want to do joint ventures, you don't want to make that your primary business, because you will live and die on the partnership. You think about it, if all majority of your work is joint ventures, the joint ventures dry up and you don't have anything to go to your own, you're going to die when the partnership dies. So just make sure you build your business, whether it's partnerships or subcontractors. You want to do it in such a way that it aligns with your business and that it doesn't put you in, as dependent upon one thing of anything. Dependent upon one thing of anything is terrible. It's just a bad place to be. But we all be in that position because you're growing your companies. But the quicker you can quickly think about that and get out of that part, the faster you'll be able to grow your business. So, yep.
Hey, Donovan, just wanted to thank you again for coming out.
Yeah.
Graylin Hurd, young up-and-coming real estate developer, 29. So I've heard you talk about relationships, building them. As someone that is young, successful black man, sometimes we see the pitfalls of young black men being, or just men in general, women in general as well, is the partner and who they choose, right? And I think the most important relationship that you could have is someone that you're married to. Right. So I know that you talked about balance and things of that sort. What advice do you have in regards to picking the right partner and managing that relationship as being a successful entrepreneur? Because that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Good question. I got my partner here tonight. I think who you pick in your partner will either break you or make you, for sure. And I think whoever you pick, you got to make sure you're in alignment with your goals and your dreams. And they got to be in alignment with that. I say all the time, if I got to sacrifice my goals and dreams for somebody else's happiness, I'm not going to be a very happy person. So you got to make sure you communicate that to align that, to say this is what the goals and dreams are, and this is why it's going to benefit this unit. I'm doing this because it's going to benefit the greater good. When I go out and I'm pushing and I'm doing what I need to do, there's an alignment on that. What I'm doing is for that reason. So I think if you have a partner that understands that, or what your goals and your dreams are, and they can get behind that, then that's going to make it easy for you. But if you don't, it's going to make it hard for you, because think about it. If you're pushing the gas, and I've used this example before, if you're pushing the gas and she's pushing the brake, where are you going to go? Not anywhere. So I think you got to have alignment in that, because that will. I mean, if you can't get that part right, it's going to be hard when you go out and try to do your business, because something's going to be pulling at you. And I think if you can get in alignment with that, and if you can't get in alignment with it, you're going to have to choose. There's no balance. Meaning, if you're in alignment, that's the balance. They know where you're going and why you're going there, then they should understand what you're doing. That's the balance. So you gotta communicate. And so we didn't go on trips for a while. When I say trips, like trips, because the business went where it needed to be, things like that. So, and they have to understand that. But we can't go buy. Yeah, we made some money here last year, but we didn't go buy a new car, a new house this year. Because I have goals. We have goals to get this business to where, or whatever the case may be. So they got to understand the sacrifice, but you also got to understand the sacrifice they're making to help you achieve your goals and dreams. You see what I'm saying? So it's all comes back to alignment and communication. Because when you're building your business, it's going to take time from you and a time away. But I think if you can align that, you do. But if you can't, the only thing I can say, it's probably gonna be hard. So good, yeah.
Appreciate the questions. That looked like what we had in terms of folks having follow-ups. Is there anybody else, just real fast? All right. So in closing, I really want to thank Donovan for having this incredible conversation with us, sharing your gems. Your experience is really second to none, right? And It was amazing just for me from the very first day conversation that I had with Toya. Just having this sort of opportunity put in front of me as I build my brand. So I definitely just appreciate you for coming on the platform and sharing your story. I do want to leave it kind of final thoughts to you in terms of like closing us out, kind of what you want the audience, and then obviously we'll have listeners who listen to this on other platforms take away.
Yeah. Well, no, thank you all for coming out. Like I said, anytime I get an opportunity to share a journey and help others, that's what it's about. Like I said, I'm just a guy from Beaufort, North Carolina that had big goals and big dreams. But what did happen is I said I will refuse to quit on my goals and dreams. So whatever y'all are doing that you're trying to do, and it doesn't have to be a business. It could be your careers. It could be business. It could be family, whatever those things are. All these things still transfer over, what I'm saying. But establish goals and dreams big, like wildly. There's research that shows the bigger the goal, the more fulfilling that it will be and the more easier that it will be to achieve them because you get creative. So set these big, wild dreams and big, wild goals and stay committed to them. Don't quit. Don't quit. It's just going to take discipline, commitment, and creativity to figure it out, and then you'll get there. So you're gonna if you stay disciplined over, keep. My dad used to tell me this thing. He used to say called nudging the ball. He said every day if you just nudge that ball a little more, just keep nudging the ball. You're gonna look, even if you nudge it just an inch. A year, 5, 10 years from now, if you've nudged that ball every single day, no matter if you nudge it an inch, 2 feet, 3 feet, or 4 feet, you're going to be a lot further along than you were if you did not nudge that ball every single day. So my advice is to whatever your goals, your dreams are, nudge that ball every single day. Because once you look up, you're going to go, I am a lot further along than where I was. And you're going to be a lot more happy with yourself because you've worked towards your goals and your dreams. And you're going to see some fruits of that labor as you've been nudging that ball all that time. So just don't give up. Keep dreaming, and it will show up.
Appreciate that, Donovan. Thanks for everybody for tuning in to the first live episode of the Beyond Normal podcast. Appreciate it.
Yep.